137,000 startups launch every single day. Every one of them has heard the same stat. 90% of the startups fail. It's on every business blog, every entrepreneurship course, every well meaning friend who tells you to keep your job. But here's the thing nobody talks about: the number is wrong. And I don't mean slightly wrong, I mean the way we have been told the stat, the context we have been given, the conclusion we have been led to is wrong. And the real truth, it's both more hopeful and more terrifying at the same time. 4 months ago, I left my job and started building something from scratch. So trust me, this question is not academic for me, it's personal. Let's find out what's actually true. So, where does this 90% number actually come from? Here's the thing about famous statistics, and I have noticed this pattern more and more. The most repeated numbers are usually the least questioned ones. They get shared, repeated, turned into motivational posters. And somewhere along the way, repetition becomes proof. I don't work that way. When I come across this stat while researching about this video, my first instinct wasn't to accept it, it was to question it. Where did it come from? Who measured it? What exactly were they measuring? So I went to the actual data. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics tracked every business that launched over a 10-year period. Here's what they've actually found: 21% fail in year 1, not 90, 21. By year 5, 48% have closed. By year 10, 65%. Now, 65% is still significant. I'm not here to tell you that startups are easy, but here's where it gets more interesting. That number shifts completely depending on what you are building. Blockchain startups, 95% failure rate. AI startups right now in 2025, 90% with a median lifespan of just 18 months. But healthcare startups, they actually survive better than the average business. So the 90% isn't a lie, it's just a lazy answer to a complicated question. And here's the complicated question nobody's actually asking: when startups fail, is it because of patterns that were always going to compound on each other? Is it avoidable mistakes the founder could have caught? Or is it something even simpler? Just not paying close enough attention to the signs that were always there. That's what I want to find out. But before we get into why startups fail, let me ask you something. You know Airbnb, right? One of the most recognized companies on the planet, worth over $75 billion, changed how an entire generation travels. Did you know they were weeks away from not existing? 2008. Three guys, no money, rejected by seven investors in a row, so broke they were literally selling novelty cereal boxes out of their apartment just to cover rent. By every conventional measure, they were failing. And here's the question I want you to sit with for a second. If Airbnb had shut down in 2008, which they almost did, what would have killed them? Most people would say they ran out of money. But did they really run out of money? Or did they run out of money because investors didn't believe in them? And investors didn't believe in them because there was no proof the market wanted this yet. And there was no proof because they hadn't found the right way to communicate the idea. You see what's happening there? Running out of money is never really the cause, it's the last domino. Think about it like this: when someone gets seriously ill and the doctor says the cause of death was organ failure, that's technically true. But organ failure doesn't just happen out of nowhere. Something happened to the organs to fail. Something before that caused that, and something before that. Running out of money is organ failure. It's what the death certificate says. It's not what actually killed the startup. CB Insights analyzed 431 venture backed companies that shut down between 2023 and 2025. 70% of them cited running out of capital as the cause of death. 70%. But when they dug deeper, past the obituary, they found something else entirely. 42% had no real market need for their product. Not 42% who ran out of money first, 42% who are building something nobody actually wanted. And that is the disease. So now the real question isn't how many startups fail. It's what is the actual chain of events that leads to a startup from launch day to shutdown. Is there a pattern? And if there is, could you see it coming before it was too late? Let's find out. Because what CB Insights found next is something most founders never talk about. Here's what I want you to do right now. If you have an idea, a business, a startup, something you have been turning over in your head for weeks or months or maybe years, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Not is my idea good enough? Not do I have enough money? Not is the timing right? This question, do I actually know with evidence, not just belief, that someone other than me wants this to exist? Because here's what the data tells us. The startups that failed, almost none of them failed because the founder wasn't smart enough. Almost none of them failed because the idea was stupid. They failed because somewhere between the idea and the execution, a pattern quietly started. Six stages, each one feeding the next, each one invisible if you don't know what you are looking for. And by the time most founders saw it, it was already stage 5. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through that pattern stage by stage. And I'm going to show you how Airbnb, one of the most recognized companies on the planet, went through every single stage of it and how they came out on the other side. Because understanding this pattern isn't just useful if you are building a startup, it's useful if you are building anything, a business, a career, a creative project, anything where the outcome is uncertain and the stakes feel real. The pattern doesn't care what you are building, it only cares whether you are paying attention. Are you?